Tonight is the 21st of September 2010, and this is the 63rd time we are speaking on the Majjhima Nikaya Suttas. Tonight we come to Sutta 149. Mahasalayattanika Sutta, the great sixfold base, is another sutta concerning the six sense bases. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anatta Pindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, I shall teach you a discourse on the great sixfold base. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say." "Yes, Venerable Sir," the monks replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, when one does not know and see the I as it actually is, when one does not know and see forms as they actually are, when one does not know and see I consciousness as it actually is, when one does not know and see eye contact as it actually is, when one does not know and see as it actually is the feeling felt as pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with eye contact as condition, then one is inflamed by lust for the eye, for forms, for eye consciousness, for eye contact, for the feeling felt as pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with eye contact as condition. When one abides inflamed by lust, fettered, infatuated, contemplating gratification, then the five aggregates affected by clinging, or the five aggregates of attachment, are built up for oneself in the future, and one's craving, which brings renewal of being, is accompanied by delight and lust, and delights in this and that increases. One's bodily and mental troubles increase. One's bodily and mental torments increase. One's bodily and mental fevers increase. And one experiences bodily and mental suffering. Similarly, when one does not know and see the ear as it actually is, when one does not know and see the nose as it actually is, etc., when one does not know and see the tongue as it actually is, etc., when one does not know and see the body as it actually is, etc., when one does not know and see the mind as it actually is, etc., one experiences bodily and mental suffering. So here the Buddha says, when one does not know and see the I forms, I consciousness, etc., as they actually are, then one lusts after all these things, the I forms, I consciousness, I contact, feeling. Now according to the this commentary, to know and see, we to know and see as they actually are, we need to know and see by insight knowledge and path knowledge. That is what the commentary says. The commentaries always like to talk about insight. But if you remember, we have seen the previous suttas, especially in the Samyutta Nikaya, it is mentioned that the condition for seeing things as they really are, yatta buddha jnana dasana, knowing and seeing things as they really are. The condition mentioned is samadhi. There are a few suttas that says the same thing. The condition for knowing and seeing things as they really are is always samadhi. Samadhi refers to the jhanas. So why samadhi? Because when a person attains samadhi, all the jhanas, the Buddha says the five hindrances are eliminated. The five hindrances are the things that prevent us from seeing and knowing things clearly as they actually are. These five hindrances, as you know, are sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, or remorse and doubt. So according to the suttas, we have to attain samadhi to see things as they really are. And only when we see things as they really are, then we won't lust after these things. So here the Buddha says, because this person does not see things as they actually are, then he lusts after all the sense bases, lusts after the external sense objects, lusts after the six consciousness that arise, the contact and the feeling. Then when one lusts, then after these things, then the five aggregates of attachment are built up for oneself in the future. These five aggregates, body, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness, is basically body and mind. In other words, if you are inflamed by lust for these six sense bases and the objects of the six sense bases and things that arise from these six sense bases, then in the future there will be rebirth. And also it says that craving increases, and one's bodily and mental troubles also increase. If you remember the Four Noble Truths, the cause of dukkha is craving. The cause of dukkha is craving, which is tanha, which brings about renewed existence. Okay, paragraph 9. Monks, when one knows and sees the I as it actually is, when one knows and sees forms as they actually are, when one knows and sees I consciousness as it actually is, when one knows and sees I contact as it actually is, when one knows and sees as it actually is the feeling felt as pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with eye contact as condition, then one is not inflamed by lust for the eye, for forms, for eye consciousness, for eye contact, for the feeling felt as pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that arises with eye contact as condition. When one abides uninflamed by lust, unfettered, uninfatuated, contemplating danger, then the five aggregates affected by clinging are diminished for oneself in the future, and one's craving, which brings renewal of being, is accompanied by delight and lust, and delights in this or that, is abandoned. One's bodily and mental troubles are abandoned. One's bodily and mental torments are abandoned. One's bodily and mental fevers are abandoned. And one experiences bodily and mental pleasure. I'll stop here for a moment. So this is the converse. When one sees things as they actually are, then one is not inflamed by lust for the sense bases, sense objects, etc. And so the five aggregates of attachment are diminished. That means the round of rebirths is limited. For example, the Sotapanna has a maximum of 7 more lifetimes. And one's bodily and mental troubles are abandoned. Okay, the view of a person such as this is right view. His thought is right thought. His effort is right effort. His mindfulness or recollection is right mindfulness. His concentration is right concentration. But his bodily action, his verbal action, and his livelihood have already been well purified earlier. Thus, this noble eightfold path comes to fulfillment in him by development. When he develops this noble eightfold path, the 4 intense states of mindfulness or recollection also come to fulfillment in him by development. The 4 right kinds of striving also come to fulfillment in him by development. The 4 bases for psychic power also come to fulfillment in him by development. The 5 faculties also come to fulfillment in him by development. The 5 powers also come to fulfillment in him by development. The 7 enlightenment factors also come to fulfillment in him by development. These 2 things, samatha and vipassana, occur in him yoked evenly together. He fully understands by direct knowledge those things that should be fully understood by direct knowledge. He abandons by direct knowledge those things that should be abandoned by direct knowledge. He develops by direct knowledge those things that should be developed by direct knowledge. He realizes by direct knowledge those things that should be realized by direct knowledge. Stop here for a moment. So here, this person, the Buddha says, he has right view, and the other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, he also possesses. And then here the Buddha says, but his bodily action, verbal action, and livelihood have already been well purified earlier. Why? Because earlier the Buddha says, when he knows and sees the I as it actually is, and I consciousness, etc., then he's not inflamed by lust for all these things, and he contemplates danger. So if a person knows the danger of the external sense objects and is not inflamed by lust for them, then his bodily action, verbal action, and livelihood would be pure. If you remember the charana, the conduct of a monk, when a monk renounces, then there's a set of practice. So one of the early things that he has to practice is to guard the six sense doors. If he guards the six sense doors, then he is not infatuated with the six sense objects. Then his moral conduct will be pure, his sila. And his moral conduct consists of bodily action, verbal action, livelihood, and also he has a right thought, right view. So this person, his Noble Eightfold Path comes to fulfillment in him. And when this Noble Eightfold Path comes to fulfillment, the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas also come to fulfillment, namely the 4 intense states of mindfulness or recollection, Satipatthana, the 4 right kinds of striving, or 4 right efforts, Samappadana, the 4 bases of psychic power, Iddhipada, the 5 faculties, Indriya, the 5 powers, Bala, the 7 enlightenment factors, Bojjhanga, and the Noble Eightfold Path itself, these constitute the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas. And then here it says, when the Noble Eightfold Path comes to fulfillment, that means fully developed, then samatha and vipassana occur in him, yoked evenly together. That means he possesses automatically samatha and vipassana. What is this samatha and vipassana? Samatha, we know from the Vinaya books, there is a term called the Adhikarana Samatha. Adhikarana Samatha means the settlement of legal problems, or the pacification of legal problems, or the stilling of legal problems. What legal problems? Legal problems refers to the problems of the Sangha. Sometimes there are various problems between monks, and so these problems have to be settled by the Sangha, and they do what is called the Kama Vacha. The Sangha has to meet, and there are certain procedures for settling these problems. So these procedures are called the Adhikarana Samatha. So this word Samatha, you can see from there, it means the settlement or the pacification or the stilling or the quieting or the calming. So here, concerning the Noble Eightfold Path, it refers to the pacification of the mind, or stilling of the mind, or the quieting of the mind, or the calming of the mind. So this is samatha. And vipassana means contemplation. In the Anguttara Nikaya, we have a Sutta 2.3.10, where the Buddha said that two things lead to knowledge. What are these two things? Samatha and vipassana. Sometimes people translate vipassana as insight, but vipassana is what you do to get insight, so it cannot be insight. When you practice vipassana, you get insight. So vipassana means contemplation. And the Chinese translation for these two terms, samatha and vipassana, are quite accurate. The Chinese translation is chir quan. Chir means stilling the mind or calming the mind, and quan means contemplation. So you can see from here that when one develops a noble path fully, then you must possess samatha and vipassana. Here it says these two things, samatha and vipassana, occur in him yoked evenly together. He possesses these two things. So sometimes we see, for example, in the Vinaya books, certain people have already attained the 4 jhanas. So the Buddha goes to them to teach them the suttas. For example, the earliest 5 arahants were the 5 monk disciples of the Buddha. So the Buddha just asked them to sit down. The Buddha said, I will teach you the Dhamma. Then he started with the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And then in the subsequent days, he taught various suttas. And finally, when he taught the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, all 5 of them attained arahanthood. So, listening to the Dhamma in that, for those 5 monks, was the vipassana, since they had already possessed the samatha, being disciples of the Buddha. The Buddha had already taught them the jhanas. So when they sat down and listened to the Dhamma, when you listen to the Dhamma, you automatically digest it. You automatically contemplate. You don't have to make an effort. As soon as you hear the Dhamma, you start to automatically contemplate and digest it. So for them, they became enlightened just by listening to the Dhamma. So that listening to the Dhamma was the vipassana. So this is one thing. The other thing I like to mention here is that you see, when a person develops a noble eightfold path, all these factors, the 4 satipatthana, the 4 samappadana, the 4 iddhipada, the 5 indriya, the 5 bala, the 7 bojjhanga, also come to be fully developed. So this satipatthana sutta, the start of the satipatthana sutta, sometimes they translate, the translation says that the satipatthana is the only way. But satipatthana, you can see from here, is not the only way. All these are the ways to enlightenment. But basically it's a noble eightfold path. And you develop fully the noble eightfold path. All these other things come to be developed at the same time. The 4 satipatthana, the 4 samappadana, the 4 iddhipada, etc. So, in the Noble Eightfold Path, the eighth factor is samatha. Eighth factor is samatha. When you practice samatha, you attain samadhi, concentration. And the 7th factor, samasati, is vipassana. The 7th factor, samasati, is contemplating the 4 objects of sati. And that is the vipassana, contemplation. So, you can see from the Noble Eightfold Path, all the 8 factors are necessary. You cannot practice just one particular factor of the Noble Eightfold Path and expect to be enlightened. That's why some people say, how can jhana be necessary? When the Buddha initially practiced the jhana, he was not enlightened. But you don't become enlightened through just one factor. In the same way, just because the Buddha practiced sila initially, he did not become enlightened. Then you cannot say, what's the use of sila? When the Buddha practiced sila, he never attained enlightenment. You cannot say that. Because these are all components. So all 8 factors are necessary. So because of wrong view, nowadays people teach that you can have pure vipassana. You can become enlightened just by practicing pure vipassana. This comes from the commentaries. It's not what the Buddha says. It's what later monks say. So there's no such thing as a pure vipassana arahant. It's only found in the commentaries. But in the suttas, all 8 factors have to be developed, fully developed. So that's why here it says both samatha and vipassana will be found in the person who develops the Noble Eightfold Path fully. Okay, and what things should be fully understood by direct knowledge? The answer to that is the 5 aggregates of attachment. That is the material form or body aggregate of attachment, the feeling aggregate of attachment, the perception aggregate of attachment, the volition aggregate of attachment, the consciousness aggregate of attachment. These are the things that should be fully understood by direct knowledge. And what things should be abandoned by direct knowledge? Ignorance and craving for being. These are the things that should be abandoned by direct knowledge. And what things should be developed by direct knowledge? Samatha and vipassana. These are the things that should be developed by direct knowledge. And what things should be realized by direct knowledge? True knowledge and deliverance or liberation. These are the things that should be realized by direct knowledge. When one knows and sees the ear as it actually is, etc., etc. When one knows and sees the nose as it actually is, etc. When one knows and sees the tongue as it actually is, when one knows and sees the body as it actually is, etc. When one knows and sees the mind as it actually is, etc. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So the last part is concerning the other sense bases. The Buddha started off with the eye base, then in the end he mentioned the other bases. So this paragraph 11, what things should be understood by direct knowledge is the 5 aggregates of attachment. These 5 aggregates are body or material form, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness is also the body and the mind. The mind consists of the 4 things, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. So why we need to understand the 5 aggregates? Because we take the 5 aggregates to be I or mind. A normal, ordinary person identifies himself with the 5 aggregates. So the 5 aggregates being impermanent has to change. So when it changes and you are attached to the 5 aggregates, then you will suffer. For example, if your son suddenly dies, and then you will suffer a lot, or your husband suddenly dies, or wife, etc. So we have to understand the 5 aggregates, and this understanding the 5 aggregates is similar to understanding the 6 sense bases, because the 6 sense bases, the eye, the ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. You can see these 6 sense bases, the first 5, eye, ear, nose, tongue body are basically body. And the last one, mind, is mind. So the six sense basis is also body and mind. Just like the five aggregates. The five aggregates is also body and mind. The six sense basis is also body and mind. So we have to understand the five aggregates. What things should be abandoned by direct knowledge? Ignorance and craving for being. What is ignorance? Ignorance here refers to ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. When you listen to the Dhamma, you have a little bit of understanding, and you can get right view. But this that means ignorance is eliminated. But then this ignorance and right view, there are different levels. So the right view of a Sotapanna is different from the right view of a Sakadagamin, and is different, which is different from the right view of a Anagamin, which is different from the right view of an Arahant. An Arahant has perfect right view, has perfect right view. Whereas a Sotapanna has a basic right view. He has a Sotapanna has a basic understanding of the Four Noble Truths, not as deep as the Arahant. So the ignorance eliminated by the Sotapanna is not the ignorance is not fully eliminated. The Arahant has fully eliminated ignorance, whereas the Sotapanna may have eliminated, for example, a quarter of the ignorance eliminated by an Arahant. Because in the Sutta, it is stated in the Samyutta Nikaya, I believe. There's one Sutta. The Buddha says, ignorance is the cause for the arising of unwholesome states. And then the Buddha says, when ignorance is totally eliminated, then all unwholesome states are totally eliminated. So the Arahant has finished his work, so he has totally eliminated ignorance. So he has totally no unwholesome states. Whereas the Sotapanna has not, because he has not completely eliminated ignorance, he still has some unwholesome states. Now, what things should be developed by direct knowledge? Samatha and Vipassana. That means the seventh and the eighth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. And what things should be realized by direct knowledge? True knowledge and liberation. True knowledge is, you can say, understanding of the Dhamma, which gives you right view. And liberation is liberation from the round of rebirths, eliminating greed, hatred, and delusion. And basically, liberation or enlightenment is the destruction of the asavas, destruction of the taints, or destruction of the uncontrolled mental outflows. These are the things that should be realized by direct knowledge. So that's the end of the sutta. Just to recap just now that sutta, basically the Buddha says to be liberated, to stop the round of rebirths, stop the five aggregates of attachment in the future, one has to cut craving. And craving refers to craving for the six sense bases and the six sense objects and the consciousness and the contact and the feeling, etc. Mentioned here. So to eliminate craving, one has to know and see things as they really are. And I mentioned the condition for knowing and seeing things as they really are is samadhi, concentration, which basically means attainment of the jhanas. Attainment of the jhanas is a practice of samatha. But then you need vipassana, and vipassana, as I mentioned, refers to contemplating four objects of sati, the seventh factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma. And out of these four, I mentioned before, the most important is the Dhamma. Because in the Suttas, the Buddha says, when a person becomes liberated, he becomes liberated only on 5 occasions. One, when he is listening to the Dhamma. Secondly, when he is teaching the Dhamma. Thirdly, when he is repeating the Dhamma. In the days of the Buddha, there were no books, so they had to repeat the Dhamma or the Suttas. The fourth is when he reflects on the Dhamma. The fifth is during meditation. So you see, out of the 5 occasions, a person becomes enlightened. 4 of them have to do with vipassana. Listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, repeating the Dhamma, and reflecting on the Dhamma. So that's why both are necessary, samatha and vipassana, so that you can know and see things as they really are. As I mentioned, I quoted this sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 2.3.10. In that sutta, the Buddha says, 2 conditions are necessary for knowing and seeing things, for knowledge and insight. That is samatha and vipassana. Okay, now we come to Sutta 150, Nagaravindaya Sutta, to the Nagaravindans. This is a very good sutta. It does not have so much Dhamma content, but it's a very good sutta. Very soon you'll understand why. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering in the Kosalan country with a large sangha of monks, and eventually arrived at a Kosalan village named Nagaravinda. The Brahmin householders of Nagaravinda heard. The recluse Gotama, the son of the Sakyans, who went forth from a Sakyan clan, has been wandering in the Kosalan country with a large sangha of monks, and has come to Nagaravinda. Now a good report of Master Gotama has been spread to this effect, that Blessed One is Arahant, Sammasambuddha, etc. He reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Now it is good to see such Arahants. Then the Brahmin householders of Nagaravinda went to the Blessed One. Some paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some exchanged greetings with him, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, sat down at one side. Some extended their hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some pronounced their name and clan in the Blessed One's presence and sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. When they were seated, the Blessed One said to them, Householders, if wanderers of other sects ask you thus, Householders, what kind of recluses and Brahmins should not be honored, respected, revered, and venerated? You should answer them thus. Those recluses and Brahmins who are not rid of lust, hate, and delusion regarding forms cognizable by the eye, whose minds are not inwardly peaceful, and who conduct themselves now righteously, now unrighteously, in body, speech, and mind. Such recluses and Brahmins should not be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Why is that? Because we ourselves are not rid of lust, hate, and delusion regarding forms cognizable by the eye. Our minds are not inwardly peaceful, and we conduct ourselves now righteously, now unrighteously, in body, speech, and mind. Since we do not see any higher righteous conduct on the part of those good recluses and Brahmins, they should not be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Those recluses and Brahmins who are not rid of lust, hate, and delusion regarding sounds cognizable by the ear, regarding odors, regarding flavors, regarding tangibles, regarding mind objects, whose minds are not inwardly peaceful, and who conduct themselves now righteously, now unrighteously, in body, speech and mind, should not be honored. Since we do not see any higher righteous conduct on the part of those good recluses and Brahmins, they should not be honored, respected, revered and venerated. Being thus ours householders, we should answer those wanderers of other sects in this way. Stop here for a moment. So here, without being asked by the lay people, the Buddha is telling these lay people how to judge recluses and Brahmins or monks and ascetics. The Buddha said there are some that should be respected, revered, whereas some should not be respected and revered. And those who should not be respected and revered are those who have lust, hatred and delusion, just like lay people. Just like lay people sometimes conduct themselves righteously, sometimes unrighteously. So if these recluses and Brahmins, these monks and ascetics, they also behave like this, sometimes righteously, sometimes unrighteously, through body, speech and mind, then why should you respect them? Because they are no better than you. So this is the standard the Buddha gives. But householders, if wanderers of other sects ask you thus, householders, what kind of recluses and Brahmins should be honored, respected, revered and venerated? You should answer them thus. Those recluses and Brahmins who are rid of lust, hate and delusion regarding forms cognizable by the eye, whose minds are inwardly peaceful and who conduct themselves righteously in body, speech and mind. Such recluses and Brahmins should be honored, respected, revered and venerated. Why is that? Because we ourselves are not rid of lust, hate and delusion regarding forms cognizable by the eye. Our minds are not inwardly peaceful and we conduct ourselves now righteously, now unrighteously in body, speech and mind. Since we see higher righteous conduct on the part of those good recluses and Brahmins, they should be honored, respected, revered and venerated. Those recluses and Brahmins who are rid of lust, hate and delusion regarding sounds cognizable by the ear, regarding odors, flavors, tangibles, mind objects, whose minds are inwardly peaceful and who conduct themselves righteously in body, speech and mind, should be honored. Since we see higher righteous conduct on the part of those good recluses and Brahmins, they should be honored, respected, revered and venerated. Being thus ours householders, we should answer those wanderers of other sects in this way. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying, if these monks or ascetics, they are better than lay people, they are rid of lust, hate and delusion, and you see the next paragraph, or if they are practicing to get rid of lust, hate and delusion, and their minds are inwardly peaceful, and who conduct themselves righteously in body, speech and mind, that means they have moral conduct, then they should be honored, respected, revered and venerated. Why? Because they have a higher righteous conduct than ordinary lay people. Householders, if wanderers of other sects ask you thus, but what are your reasons and what is your evidence regarding those venerable ones, whereby you say about them, surely these venerable ones are either rid of lust or are practicing for the removal of lust. They are either rid of hate or are practicing for the removal of hate. They are either rid of delusion or are practicing for the removal of delusion. Being asked thus, you should answer those wanderers of other sects thus. It is because those venerable ones resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest, for there are no forms cognizable by the eye there, of a kind they could look at and delight in. There are no sounds cognizable by the ear there, of a kind that they could listen to and delight in. There are no odors cognizable by the nose there, of a kind that they could smell and delight in. There are no flavors cognizable by the tongue there, of a kind that they could taste and delight in. There are no tangibles cognizable by the body there, of a kind that they could touch and delight in. These are our reasons, friends. This is our evidence, whereby we say about those venerable ones. Surely these venerable ones are either rid of lust, hate and delusion, or are practicing for their removal. Being thus asked, householders, you should answer those wanderers of other sects in this way. When this was said, the Brahmin householders of Nagaravindans said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama, Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the darkness for those with eyesight to see forms. We go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of monks. From today, let Master Gotama accept us as lay followers who have gone to him for refuge for life. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see, the Buddha says that if a monk stays in the forest, the remote forest, then you should respect him because he does not enjoy or delight in the five chords of sensual pleasure, form, sound, smells, taste and touch. And if he's practicing there, then either he's already rid of lust, or he's practicing for the removal of lust. He's either rid of hate, or he's practicing for the removal of hate. He's either rid of delusion or practicing for the removal of delusion. So you can see from the suttas and the Vinaya, during the monks' time, during the Buddha's time, the monks' disciples, the Buddha and his disciples, always stayed in the forest. They're always forest monks. They don't stay in the cities and the towns. The Buddha says that if a monk stays in the city and the towns, then it's very easy to break the precepts. Or even if not, then he will be discouraged from practicing the holy life and will disrobe. So the Buddha always encourages monks to stay in the forest or forest monasteries. During the Buddha's time, practically all the monasteries were forest monasteries. But sometimes when monks pass certain towns, we can see from the suttas and the Vinaya, sometimes they do stay in the towns, but only on a temporary basis, not long term. For example, our Samanera Ong has to go back to Singapore once in a while to do his visa, then he can stay in Wat Palelai. Otherwise, he comes to the forest monastery. So this is a very definite standard set by the Buddha, and very few monks mention this sutta. Very few monks. So the Buddha only praises forest monks, not city monks. I think I'll stop here for tonight, so that tomorrow we can do 2 suttas and wind up. Anything to discuss? Even though the Buddha before enlightenment did not know the Dhamma, but he meditated, the Buddha meditated and attained the 4 jhanas. After attaining the 4 jhanas, the Buddha recollected the past lives. When he recollected his many past lives, he remembered that he was a disciple of the Buddha Kassapa. And when he remembered the Buddha Kassapa, all the Dhamma that he learned came back to him. Without the knowledge of the Dhamma, you cannot become enlightened. So after that, he used the knowledge of the 4 Noble Truths. He contemplated the 4 Noble Truths and attained enlightenment. Depending on what level you want to attain. In the suttas, it is mentioned to attain Sotapanna and Sakadagamin, first and second fruition, you don't need perfect concentration. Perfect concentration consists of the 4 jhanas. So for Sotapanna and Sakadagamin, you don't need 4 jhanas. But if you have 3 jhanas or 2 jhanas or 1 jhana, you become a Sotapanna or a Sakadagamin very easily, provided you learn the Dhamma. But there are some people, because of maybe past life, when they listen to the Dhamma and they pay full attention, they concentrate their minds when they listen to the Dhamma. It is stated in the suttas that at the moment when he fully concentrates on hearing the Dhamma, at that moment the 5 hindrances are eliminated at that moment, and then he can understand the Dhamma. That is why you can see from the suttas and the Vinaya, sometimes the Buddha will teach to many people, and they listen to the Dhamma the first time. Many of them attain stream entry. That means they understand. Of course, they have to be quite intelligent people. It's a bit noisy tonight, so maybe we can end here.